Yeah, so growing up, I grew up without a dad. And I probably could count on my fingers how much times I've seen my dad growing up. I've probably seen him probably about 3 times, right, that I remember. But not even 3, probably 2 times that I remember growing up. And both times I saw him, he promised me a few things and he didn't actually deliver on the promises, which, being a young boy or any child, you're looking up and you're waiting for these things and realizing they're not actually coming was very hurtful as a child, and I'm just laughing right now to hide the pain. But as I got older and I got into my 20s, I made the decision to actually go and look for my dad, because I felt like I was on my healing journey and there was a few things that I had to heal. And I know healing starts with your parents as well. It starts with you, but it also starts with healing your parent wounds, your mother wounds, your father wound, any wounds that you had. And not having a father in my life, I knew that played a significant role in terms of the way I turned out or the way I was at that moment in time. And it was a part of me that was missing and I couldn't deny it. And for so long, I did deny it. For so long, I felt like I was frozen. I even wrote a song when I was younger, around about 12 or 13. It was a little poetry song and it was called Frozen Emotions. Frozen Emotions, I haven't seen my father in 13 and I swear it doesn't even play on my brain and stuff like that. And growing up, my dad lived probably 5 minutes away from me, and there was times when I was just literally like walking on my dad's road and I wouldn't even think to even go like knock for him or go and check for him or anything like that. So I was very cold to the situation. I wasn't angry, but I just didn't feel any weight because that person didn't play a role in my life or didn't show up or wasn't there. So I didn't know what I was missing out or what not having a father done, in a sense, because I've always had sisters, I've always had my mother, I've always had people around me, but I've never had that father figure. So as I started to move around, people who was in families who had both mom and dad, and seeing how they turn out and stuff like that, and then starting to get into relationships and seeing my insecurities and my wounds, it was like, oh my god, like not having a father actually played a huge role in my life, and it was time to finally address it. And I had so much resistance to actually addressing it. So there was a time when I needed to find my father. So this was a 24-hour searching on Instagram, Facebook for his socials and so forth, and I'll just ask my mom, when was the last time you seen my dad, X, Y, and Z? And my mom was always closed off about it. She would never actually tell me or few details. So there would be times when I'd go and see my mom and I'd ask a little bit. So every time I'd see her, I'd ask just a little bit to gather this picture of where he is, X, Y, and Z. And I searching online, I found him on Facebook. And when I found him on Facebook, I found a picture of him, probably maybe in his 30s back then. And I was like, wow, my dad actually looks like me. Because you gotta imagine, growing up, I grew up without that, so I didn't know what my dad looked like. I only had a memory, and I didn't have a picture or reference where I can look at it and be like, wow, that's my dad. And if I've got the video, I'll share it. And when I saw it, I was just like, whoa! It was just like a part of me just came alive. Like there was a belonging. Like, oh my god, like I'm actually belong to someone. Like both parents in a sense. So I felt like, wow. So that was huge. And then from that, I was searching for him. I was calling everything. I was calling the police. I was calling care homes. I was calling hospitals and all of that. And I called a few places, and I was getting close to finding where he was. I'm calling up, and I didn't know all of his details. Like I didn't know he had a different last name to my last name. So my last name is Bell, but his last name is Wing, right? So when I'm calling him, I'm calling by his first name and his last name, which is Bell, that I know of. And I'm like, the person on the phone is like, all right, that's not the person X, Y, and Z, and I'm saying the date of birth, and I'm getting like one number wrong in the date of birth, X, Y, and Z. So I'm going back to my mum. I'm like, Mum, does Dad go by any other names, X, Y, and Z? Mum was like, Wing. I was like, what? My dad goes by Wing? Obviously, I know my dad's Chinese, but I didn't know he had like a last Chinese name, right? So I've called back the people, and I'm like, alright, cool, Dad, this first name and his last name is Wing, and his date of birth is X, Y, and Z. And they're like, nah, you're missing something, but they're not telling me I'm missing because they can't give out confidential information. So I'm going round in circles, until I've literally just opened up and they're like, you know what, I haven't seen my dad in 20 plus years. I'm looking to reconnect with him, X, Y, and Z. And these are the reasons why. And the more I was vulnerable, the more I was open, it was the more that person was willing to give me information. So she gave me a clue. She gave me, call this police station, right? So I've called this police station, nothing's come from it. And I called back and I said, I've tried, and then she said, he's at this care home. And I was like, oh my God. So I've called the care home, it was around about 10 that night, called the care home. And I was like, I'm my dad's son, can I come and see him? I know it's late, I haven't seen him in 20 plus years. Is he okay? And he was like, I spoke to my dad on the phone, he remembered my name, he remembered everything, and he was like, yeah, come see me, And the care home was lovely and open for me to come and see him. So I got in a car, it was about an hour away from where I live, and drove there, went to see him. And when I went to see him, I wasn't expecting to see him in the state he was in. He was in a wheelchair, he had like damage to his head was dented in, all of those things there. And it made me a little bit sad because it was just like, I didn't get to see him as a normal civilian, a normal human being, a normal person. The state I got to see him in was not the best state. And I'll never ever get to see him in that state again. So yeah, we just realising that sometimes you got to do things a little bit faster as well, and understanding that this is a new relationship that's gonna have to be formed, and I'm just gonna have to navigate it, and I'm just gonna have to learn it. And I remember speaking to one of my pastors about this as well on Father's Day when I went to go and see my dad, and I was like, I told him the situation, and I said, I don't know what sort of relationship to have with him, and I don't crave anything from him, I don't want anything from him, stuff like that. But it's very hard to have an open conversation with him or speak to him normally because of injuries or things he's gone through and stuff like that, and the state he's in. And I know I'll never be able to have that relationship. And my pastor said this one thing, he said, Ish, continue showing up as you would have shown up if he was perfectly fine, if he was perfectly normal, just continue doing what you're doing. And he's like, what you're doing is absolutely amazing and you're doing the right thing. Just keep showing up in those ways. So yeah, if you disconnected from a parent, rekindle that relationship, go and find that parent, because you never know what state you can find them in. And yeah, it'll definitely help you heal in ways that will definitely be unexpected. So that was a bit of a open story about how I found my dad in 24 hours.